My daughter-in-law screamed, "She's hiding money from us. I can't even shop." Minutes later, my son threw a glass against my wall, shards hitting my face. "Give her the password," he yelled. I stayed silent because he hadn't seen who was standing behind the door yet. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. I'm Cheryl Patterson, 65 years old, and I never thought I'd be writing this story. But after everything that happened, after the lies, the betrayal, the court battles, I need to tell someone. Maybe you'll understand. Maybe you've lived through something similar. Or maybe you'll think I'm crazy for what I did next. Let me start from the beginning. From that Tuesday afternoon in March 2024 when my world collapsed. I was in my kitchen in Austin, Texas, making lemonade. The kind with real lemons, not the powder mix. My late husband, Tom, always said nobody made lemonade like me. He died 3 years ago, heart attack, right there in our living room while watching the Cowboys game. I still hear the sound of his body hitting the floor sometimes. The front door slammed open, no knock, no warning, just Kim's voice cutting through my house like a knife. "Cheryl, we need to talk. Now." Kim Patterson, my daughter-in-law, 35 years old, former receptionist, now full-time shopper and part-time manipulator. She walked into my kitchen like she owned it, her designer purse swinging, her heels clicking on my tile floor. Behind her came my son Evan, 40 years old, my only child. The boy I raised alone after his father walked out when he was 6. The man I put through rehab twice, $14,500. That's what I paid for his last treatment in January 2022. 28 days at Hill Country Recovery Center. He never said thank you, not once. "Mom," Evan said, not looking at me. His hands were shaking. I could smell the alcohol on him from across the room. 3 weeks sober, he'd told me last month. Another lie. "Where's the money?" Kim demanded. Her voice was shrill, desperate. "We checked the account. Nothing. You promised us that money for the down payment." I set down the pitcher of lemonade carefully. My hands wanted to shake, but I wouldn't let them. Not in front of her. "I never promised anything," I said quietly. "Bullshit." Kim's face turned red. "You said you'd help us with the house. You said it, Cheryl. We already told the realtor we had the money. Do you know how embarrassing this is?" I remembered that conversation. 6 months ago, November 2023, they'd come over for Thanksgiving, their first visit in 4 months. Kim had been sweet that day, calling me mom, helping with dishes, complimenting my turkey. After dinner, they'd shown me photos of a house they wanted to buy. $425,000, way above their budget. "We were hoping you could help with the down payment," Evan had said, his eyes pleading. "Just $40,000, we'll pay you back." I'd said, "Let me think about it." Not yes, not no, let me think about it. But in Kim's mind, that meant yes. In Kim's world, my money was already hers. "You're hiding money from us," she screamed now. "I know you are. You have that retirement account, the life insurance from Tom, the house that's paid off. You're sitting on hundreds of thousands and you won't even help your own son." "Kim, please," Evan said weakly. But he didn't defend me. He never defended me. I thought about the real numbers, the numbers I'd never told them. $14,500 for rehab in 2022, $8,300 in credit card debt I paid off for Evan in May 2023, $6,700 I loaned him in August 2023 for car repairs he never paid back, $29,500 total in less than 2 years. And before that, the $67,000 I'd scraped together for his college, working double shifts at the hospital, 18-hour days sometimes, the $12,000 for his first car, the $3,400 for his DUI lawyer fees when he was 23. My whole life, measured in dollars I'd given him. And now his wife was screaming at me in my own kitchen. "I need that password," Kim said. "The account you have with Wells Fargo, the one Derek told us about." My blood went cold. Derek, my brother-in-law, Tom's younger brother, 63 years old, retired lawyer, always jealous that Tom inherited our mother's house instead of him. "What did Derek tell you?" I asked slowly. "He said you have an account with over $180,000 in it. He said you're being selfish. He said at your age, you should be thinking about your family's future, not hoarding money like some old miser. So Derek was in on this. The betrayal spread like poison through my chest. "That money is mine," I said. "I earned it. Tom and I saved it for my retirement for—" "For what?" Kim shrieked. "You live alone in this house. You don't travel. You don't do anything. You're just going to die and leave it all to— To who? Some cat charity?" Evan finally looked at me then. His eyes were hollow, desperate, the eyes of an addict. Not for drugs this time, for money, for the easy way out. "Mom, please," he said, "just give us the password. We need this." "No," I said. That's when he grabbed the glass from my counter. The lemonade glass, half full, the one I'd been about to drink from. He threw it, not at me, at the wall behind me. But he threw it hard, violent, and when it shattered, shards of glass sprayed everywhere. I felt them hit my face, my neck, tiny pinpricks of pain. I reached up and touched my cheek, blood on my fingers. My son had made me bleed. "Give her the password!" Evan roared. He was crying now, his face twisted. "Give it to her or I swear to God." "Or what?" I said quietly. "What will you do, Evan?" The room went silent. Kim stared at me. Evan's chest heaved. And that's when I smiled, because I'd heard the front door open 5 minutes ago, heard the footsteps in my hallway, and I knew exactly who was standing behind my kitchen door, listening to every word. I looked at Evan, at Kim, at the blood on my fingers. "I think," I said slowly, "you should both turn around." They turned, and saw her, standing in my doorway with her phone in her hand, recording everything. The woman standing in my kitchen doorway wasn't police. She wasn't family. She was my neighbor, Cheryl Henderson, 58 years old, retired teacher, and the one person in this world I'd learned to trust over the past 6 months. She held up her phone, the red recording light still glowing. "I got everything," Cheryl said quietly. "Every word, every threat, the glass, all of it." Kim's face went white. Evan stumbled backward, knocking over a kitchen chair. "You can't," Kim started. "Can't what?" Carol stepped into my kitchen, her eyes hard. "Can't record people committing assault in my friend's home? Actually, Texas is a one-party consent state. Cheryl invited me over. I'm allowed to record." That part was true. I'd called Carol 20 minutes before Kim and Evan arrived. I'd seen Kim's car pull up across the street, watched her sit there for 10 minutes, probably working up her courage or her rage. I knew what was coming. So I'd called Carol and said, "Come over, don't knock. Just walk in when you hear shouting." Carol had been through this with her own son, drug addict, 20 years clean now, but she remembered the manipulation, the threats, the endless need for money. She understood. "Get out of my mother's house," Carol said to Evan. "Both of you, now." They left. Kim grabbed her purse and ran. Evan looked back at me once, his face twisted with something I couldn't read. Shame, maybe, or just anger at being caught. After the door slammed, Carol and I stood in silence. She stopped the recording and immediately uploaded it to her cloud storage, then sent me a copy. "You'll need this," she said, "for whatever comes next." I touched my cheek. The bleeding had stopped, but my face stung. "What comes next is me finding out exactly what they're planning." Carol nodded. "I'll help however I can." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Kim had said. Derek told us about the account, my brother-in-law. Tom's brother, the man who'd sat at Tom's funeral and cried, who'd hugged me and said, "Family takes care of family, Cheryl." At 2 a.m., I got out of bed and went to my computer. I logged into my Wells Fargo account, $183,472, my life savings, money from selling Tom's business after he died, money from his life insurance, money I'd saved working as a night nurse for 18 years. Everything was there, nothing missing. So why did Kim think I was hiding money? I spent 3 hours going through my accounts, my statements, everything. Nothing was wrong. But the way Kim had said it, with such certainty, made me think she'd seen something. Some proof. Some document. Wednesday morning, I called Wells Fargo. "Ma'am," the customer service representative said, "I'm showing 2 accounts under your Social Security number." My blood went cold. 2? Yes. The main savings account you're aware of, and a second account opened in October 2023. It currently has a balance of $0. October 2023. 5 months ago. I didn't open a second account, I said slowly. Let me pull up the details. I heard typing. The account was opened at our branch on South Congress Avenue. The initial deposit was $50,000, transferred from your main account. Then over the next 4 months, there were multiple withdrawals totaling $47,000. The remaining $3,000 was transferred out last week. I couldn't breathe. Someone had stolen $47,000 from me. Who authorized these transactions? I asked. The signature on file shows. It appears to be yours, Mrs. Patterson. It's not. I never opened that account. I never authorized those withdrawals. The representative's voice became more formal. Ma'am, if you're reporting fraud, you'll need to come to the branch and file a formal complaint. We'll need to compare the signature on file with your current signature and possibly involve law enforcement. I hung up and immediately called Carol. She came over within 20 minutes. Someone forged your signature? She asked after I explained. Has to be. I never went to that branch. I never opened a second account. Who has access to your personal documents? Who could have copied your signature? I thought about it. Kim and Evan had keys to my house. They'd been here dozens of times over the past year. Anytime I wasn't home, they could have gone through my desk, my files. But forging a signature and opening a bank account, that took more than just access. That took help from someone inside the bank. Derek? I said suddenly. Derek's wife, Linda, works at Wells Fargo. She's been there for 20 years. She works in account services. Carol's eyes widened. You think she helped them? Derek told them about my account. He had to have seen my statements somehow. And Linda could have processed the paperwork, bypassed the usual verification. They're family. The bank employees probably know her, know me. They'd trust her if she said I was opening a new account. That's conspiracy to commit fraud, Carol said. If you can prove it, they're all going to jail. I spent the rest of Wednesday gathering documents. Every bank statement from the past year. Every piece of mail that had come to my house. I went through my desk and found something that made my stomach turn. A folder labeled estate planning that I'd never seen before. Inside were documents I definitely hadn't signed. A power of attorney giving Evan control over my finances in the event of mental incapacity, a form designating Kim as my healthcare proxy, another document outlining a plan to sell my house and move me into assisted living for my own safety. They'd been planning this for months. Thursday morning, I drove to the Wells Fargo branch on South Congress Avenue. I brought Carol with me and all my documents. The branch manager was a young woman named Ashley, maybe 30 years old. She looked nervous when I explained why I was there. Mrs. Patterson, I pulled your file. The account in question was opened on October 12, 2023. The paperwork shows your signature, your ID was photocopied, everything seemed in order. Who processed the account opening? I asked. Ashley hesitated. I'm not sure I'm authorized to. Was it Linda Carter? I interrupted. Linda's maiden name was Carter. She'd kept it at work. Ashley's face told me everything. I can't confirm that without proper authorization. Linda Carter is my brother-in-law's wife, I said. She works here. She's known me for 15 years, and I think she helped my son and daughter-in-law forge my signature and steal $47,000 from me. Ashley stood up. Ma'am, I need to speak with my supervisor. Please wait here. Carol squeezed my hand. This is good. You're getting answers. 20 minutes later, Ashley returned with an older man in a suit. Mrs. Patterson, I'm Robert Freeman, Regional Manager. We've reviewed your account. I'm authorizing a full forensic audit. If fraud occurred, we'll cooperate completely with law enforcement. I'm also freezing all accounts associated with your Social Security number until we complete our investigation. How long will that take? I asked. 72 hours for the preliminary report. I left the bank feeling strange, validated, but also terrified. If what I suspected was true, my brother-in-law and his wife had helped my son rob me. The betrayal wasn't just Kim and Evan. It was family-wide. That afternoon, I tried calling Derek. 3 times. He didn't answer. By Friday morning, I still hadn't heard from him. Then at noon, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Derek stood on my porch, his face red, his jaw tight. I opened the door but kept the chain lock on. "You called the bank," he said. Not a question. An accusation. "Someone stole $47,000 from me, Derek. They forged my signature. They created a fake account. You're making a huge mistake, Cheryl." "Am I?" "Because the bank's doing a forensic audit, and I have a feeling they're going to find Linda's fingerprints all over this." Derek's face went pale. Linda didn't do anything wrong. She was just trying to help. Help who? Help Evan steal my money? You don't understand the pressure he's under. Derek's voice rose. "He's drowning, Cheryl. Kim's spending is out of control. They're about to lose their apartment. He needed that money. So you helped him steal it from me?" "It's not stealing. That money should be his anyway. When you die, he inherits everything. We just moved up the timeline." My hands shook. "Get off my property. Now." "You're going to regret this," Derek said. "When Linda loses her job, when this family falls apart, you'll regret burning these bridges." He left. I locked the door and immediately called the Wells Fargo fraud department. I told them everything Derek had just admitted. Saturday morning, I woke up to find my credit cards weren't working. All 3 of them declined when I tried to buy groceries at H-E-B. I called the credit card companies. All 3 cards had been reported stolen and canceled. "Who reported them stolen?" I asked. "The report came from an Evan Patterson, listed as your authorized user and emergency contact. He said you'd lost your wallet and were unable to call yourself due to health issues." More lies, more manipulation. I drove back home, my trunk empty, no groceries. I had $43 in cash in my purse. My bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. My credit cards were canceled. I couldn't access my own money. When I pulled into my driveway, there was an envelope taped to my front door. Inside was a single piece of paper. I didn't take the donuts. Derek stood on my porch with that box from 5th Street Bakery, smiling like we were still family, like he hadn't just conspired to destroy me. "What do you want?" I asked. His smile faltered, just a little. "Cheryl, come on. Can't a guy bring his sister-in-law some breakfast? I heard you and Evan had a rough day yesterday." "How did you hear that?" "Kim called me. She was upset, said you'd gotten a lawyer involved, that things got out of hand." He shifted the donut box to his other hand. "I thought maybe I could help mediate. You know, family helping family." I looked at him, really looked at him. Derek Patterson, 63 years old, retired lawyer, Tom's younger brother. He'd been at our wedding. He'd held Evan when Evan was 2 days old. He'd sat in my living room last Thanksgiving and told me I made the best pecan pie in Texas. And he'd sold me out for what? 30% of an inheritance that wasn't even his? "You told them about my bank account," I said quietly. He blinked. "What?" "No, Derek, don't. I know you did. Kim told me yesterday. You told her I have $183,000 in a Wells Fargo retirement account. You told her I was planning to cut Evan out of my will. You told her to act fast." The color drained from his face. The donut box tilted in his hand. "Cheryl, listen." "No, you listen." My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. "You accessed my private financial information. You shared it with people who have been financially exploiting me for years. And you convinced them I was a threat so they'd escalate. Why?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "It's not like that," he said finally. "I was trying to help Evan. The kid's drowning, Cheryl. He's got debts up to his eyeballs. Kim's spending money they don't have, and you're sitting on all this cash doing nothing with it." "It's my cash." "Tom's cash," Derek corrected. His voice got sharper. "Money that should have been split between both of us when Mom died. But no, she left everything to Tom because he was the favorite. Always the favorite." There it was, 20 years of resentment spilling out on my front porch at 8 in the morning. "So this is about your mother's house?" I asked. "That's why you betrayed me?" "I didn't betray anyone. I'm looking out for Evan because you're too selfish to see he needs help." "Help?" I almost laughed. "Derek, I've given him over $30,000 in 3 years. I paid for his rehab. Twice. I've bailed him out of every disaster he's created. When does help become enabling? When you stop caring about your own son. The words hit like a slap. Before I could respond, a car pulled into my driveway, Sophia's Honda Civic. She got out with her briefcase and her phone, took one look at Derek, and walked straight toward us. "Mr. Patterson," she said coolly, "I'm going to need you to leave Miss Patterson's property." Derek's jaw tightened. "This is a family matter. This is a legal matter," Sophia corrected. "And given that you've been sharing Ms. Patterson's confidential financial information without her consent, I'd suggest you speak to your own attorney before you say anything else." His face went red. "You can't prove I did anything." "Actually," I said, "Kim told me everything yesterday. While Sophia was recording, you told Kim about my accounts. You encouraged her to pressure me, and you signed something." "What did you sign, Derek?" Silence. He wouldn't look at me. "He signed as a witness," Sophia said, "for a mental incompetency petition." "Didn't you, Mr. Patterson?" The donut box fell. Donuts rolled across my porch. Derek stared at Sophia like she'd pulled a gun. "How did you—" "I called the courthouse this morning," Sophia said. "Petition filed March 8th. 2 witnesses, Kimberly Patterson and Derek Patterson. You both swore that Cheryl has exhibited signs of mental decline and financial confusion. That's perjury if it's false." "Which it is." Derek backed up a step. "I was trying to protect her." "From what?" I asked. "From keeping my own money?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my stomach turn. He actually believed it. He actually thought taking my money, taking my freedom was helping me. "You need to leave," Sophia said. "Now." Derek left, didn't pick up the donuts, just got in his truck and drove away. I stood there shaking, not from fear, from rage. "We need to go to the bank," Sophia said. "Right now, before they try anything else. Wells Fargo on Congress Avenue." I'd banked there for 15 years. Same building, same tellers, same manager who always asked about Evan. We walked in at 9:15 a.m. The branch had just opened, 3 customers ahead of us in line. "I need to speak to someone about my accounts," I told the teller. Young woman, maybe 25. Name tag said Brittany. "Sure, can I have your account number?" I gave it to her. She typed, frowned, typed more. "One moment, please." She picked up the phone, spoke quietly, hung up. "Mr. Reynolds will be right with you." Mr. Reynolds was the branch manager, mid-40s, always wore too much cologne. He came out of his office with a concerned smile. "Mrs. Patterson, good morning. Let's talk in my office." We followed him back. Sophia stayed close to me. "What can I help you with today?" Reynolds asked, sitting behind his desk. "I need to access my accounts," I said. "And I need to know if anyone else has tried to access them recently." He pulled up my information on his computer, studied the screen. His expression shifted. "Mrs. Patterson, I see here that there's been a flag placed on your accounts." "What kind of flag?" "A protective hold. It appears someone filed a concern about potential fraud or undue influence." He looked uncomfortable. "In cases like this, we temporarily restrict access until the situation is resolved." My heart stopped. Who filed the concern? "I can't disclose that information, but was it Derek Patterson?" Sophia interrupted. "Or Kimberly Patterson?" Reynolds didn't answer, which was answer enough. "When was this filed?" I asked. "March 9th. Yesterday." Yesterday. While I was discovering the phantom account. While I was realizing how deep this went. They'd already moved to lock me out of my own money. "I need that restriction removed immediately," I said. "This is financial abuse." "Mrs. Patterson, I understand you're upset, but we have protocols. If there's a legitimate concern about mental capacity or exploitation—" "There isn't," Sophia cut in. "Ms. Patterson is fully competent. We have medical documentation, and the people who filed this concern are currently under investigation for elder abuse." Reynolds shifted in his chair. "I'll need to see that documentation." "We'll provide it," Sophia said. "But in the meantime, Ms. Patterson needs access to her funds. She has bills to pay." "I'm sorry, but until this is resolved through proper channels, I can't—" "How long?" I asked. My voice sounded hollow. "These situations typically take 7 to 10 business days to review." 7 to 10 days. 2 weeks without access to my own money. What am I supposed to do for 2 weeks? I asked quietly. Reynolds gave me that sympathetic smile I was learning to hate. Do you have family who can help you out temporarily? I almost laughed. Would have, if it wasn't so horrible. My family, I said slowly, is the one who did this to me. We left the bank. I felt numb. Sophia was on her phone, calling someone, talking about injunctions and emergency hearings. I wasn't really listening. I got in her car. She drove me home. I can't buy groceries, I said. My cards won't work. I have maybe $40 cash in my purse. We'll fix this, Sophia said. I promise. But she couldn't promise that. Because even if we fixed it legally, even if we got my money back, I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. Derek in my driveway with donuts and lies. That bank manager smiling while he told me I couldn't access my own accounts. Evan throwing that glass. Kim screaming. I couldn't unsee any of it. When we got to my house, there was an envelope taped to my front door. Sophia grabbed it before I could. Opened it. Read it. Her face went white. What is it? I asked. She handed it to me. Official letterhead. Legal language. But the meaning was clear. Notice of eviction proceedings filed by Evan Patterson, Power of Attorney Property, 2847 Maple Street, Austin, TX Grounds. Owner unable to maintain property due to mental incapacity. Court date, March 28, 2024. 10 days. They were giving me 10 days before they tried to take my house. The house Tom and I bought 30 years ago. The house where I'd raised Evan. The house I'd painted and maintained and loved. They wanted to take it from me. I sat down on my porch steps, stared at that notice, at the words mental incapacity in black and white. When did Evan get power of attorney? I whispered. Sophia was already calling someone. I heard her say fraudulent and forged signature and emergency restraining order. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was thinking about Evan at 6 years old, crying because his father left. Me holding him, promising him I'd never leave him, that he'd always have a home with me. And now he was trying to take that home away. Cheryl. Sophia crouched in front of me. Listen to me. He doesn't have power of attorney. He can't have. You never signed anything, right? No, I said. Never. Then it's fraud. We can prove it, but we need to move fast. I looked at her. This woman I barely knew. This neighbor who'd jogged past my house 3 times a week for 6 months. Why are you helping me? I asked. She smiled sadly. Because this happened to my grandmother, and nobody helped her. And by the time we figured it out, it was too late. She stood up, held out her hand. Come on, she said. We have work to do. I took her hand, let her pull me up, and for the first time since this started, I felt something other than grief. I felt anger. Cold, clear, purposeful anger. Sophia worked fast. By noon that same day, we were in her home office. She'd converted her spare bedroom into a workspace, desk covered in files, 2 monitors, a printer that smelled like hot toner. Her golden retriever, Max, slept in the corner. Okay, she said, pulling up documents on her computer. The power of attorney they filed is a forgery. Has to be. You never signed anything, right? Never. Good. We'll need a forensic document examiner to prove it. I know someone in Houston, Dr. Sarah Chen. She's testified in federal court. Expensive, but worth it. How expensive? $3,200 for the full analysis and court testimony. I thought about my frozen accounts, about the $40 in my purse, about not being able to buy groceries. I'll figure it out, I said. Sophia studied me. I can front the cost. You can pay me back when we unfreeze your accounts. You barely know me. I know enough. She clicked through more files. Now, about that phantom account, the one ending in 7342. I did some digging this morning. And? It was opened at the Wells Fargo branch on Congress Avenue, same branch where you bank. Opened October 15, 2023, with an initial deposit of $47,000. My stomach dropped. $47,000? Yes, Transferred from your legitimate savings account the same day. Then, over the next 4 months, that money was withdrawn in increments. $5,000 here, $8,000 there, always just under the $10,000 reporting threshold. Structuring. I'd seen it on those crime shows. Breaking up large amounts to avoid federal reporting requirements. Who withdrew it? I asked, though I already knew. That's where it gets interesting. Sophia pulled up a scanned document, a bank signature card. The account required 2 authorized signatures. Look, I looked. Signature 1, Cheryl A. Patterson. Signature 2, Linda M. Carter. I didn't recognize the second name. Who's Linda Carter? Kim's cousin. Works at Wells Fargo. Been there 6 years, currently a senior account specialist. Sophia's voice was cold. She had access to all your account information. She could create new accounts, transfer funds, forge signature cards, and she did. The room tilted. Kim's cousin, a bank employee, someone I'd probably walked past dozens of times without knowing she was robbing me. How do we prove the signatures are forged? I asked. Dr. Chen, she'll analyze the signature cards, compare them to your real signatures, testify that they're forgeries. Sophia leaned back. But here's the thing, Cheryl. Once we prove forgery, this becomes a criminal case, not just civil. Fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Linda Carter will face felony charges. So will Kim. So will anyone who knowingly benefited from the stolen money. Evan, I said quietly. Yes. If he knew where the money came from, he's an accomplice. I thought about that. About my son going to prison. About Kim in an orange jumpsuit. About Linda Carter losing everything. Do it, I said. All of it. Sophia didn't blink. You're sure? Because once we start down this road, they threw a glass at my face. They tried to lock me out of my own accounts. They forged documents to steal my house. They've stolen $47,000 from me. My voice didn't shake. I'm sure. Okay. Sophia pulled out her phone. I'm calling Dr. Chen now. Then we're filing an emergency motion to freeze all accounts that received funds from your stolen account. Kim's accounts, Evan's accounts, Linda's accounts, everything. They'll panic. Good. Sophia smiled. Cold smile. Lawyer smile. Let them panic. Dr. Chen drove up from Houston the next morning. Older woman, maybe 60, with reading glasses on a chain, and the methodical manner of someone who'd spent decades examining tiny details. She spread the signature cards on my dining table, set up a magnifying lamp, took photographs, compared them to my real signatures on old checks, tax returns, my driver's license. See this? She pointed to the forged signature with a pen. The pressure is wrong. Your real signature has heavier pressure at the beginning of letters, lighter at the end. This one is uniform throughout. That suggests someone copying slowly, carefully, rather than writing naturally. Could it be that my signature just changed over time? I asked. Look at the capital P in Patterson. She showed me 3 signatures side by side, 2 real ones from 2022 and 2023, and the forgery. Your real signatures have this distinctive loop at the top of the P. The forged one doesn't. That's a fundamental structural difference, not age-related variation. So it's definitely a fake? Without a doubt. I'd bet my career on it. She pulled out a tablet, started typing notes. I'll have the full report ready in 48 hours. With this evidence, you have an extremely strong criminal case. After she left, Sophia made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Kim had screamed at me 4 days ago. What happens next? I asked. Tomorrow morning, we file 3 things simultaneously. Sophia counted on her fingers. 1. Emergency motion to unfreeze your legitimate accounts. 2. Motion to dismiss the eviction proceedings because the power of attorney is fraudulent. 3. Formal complaint with the Austin Police Department, Financial Crimes Division. The police? Elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. This is criminal, Cheryl. They go to jail for this. I sipped my coffee, thought about Evan, about the boy who'd cried when his hamster died, about the teenager who'd taught himself guitar, about the man who'd thrown glass at my face. Will Evan go to jail? I asked. Depends on what he knew and when he knew it. If he can prove he didn't know Kim and Linda were stealing from you, He might avoid criminal charges, but he'll still lose everything in civil court. And if he did know, then yes, he goes to jail. I looked out my window. The sun was setting. Orange light across my backyard, across the garden Tom and I had planted 15 years ago. "Do you think I'm a bad mother?" I asked. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. "I think you're a mother who's been abused for years and finally decided to fight back. That's not bad. That's survival." The emergency hearing was scheduled for March 18th, 8 days after Kim screamed in my kitchen. Judge Patricia Morrison, 62 years old, former prosecutor, reputation for being tough but fair. She sat behind the bench with reading glasses and a coffee mug that said, "World's Okayest Judge." Sophia presented our case, the forged signatures, Dr. Chen's preliminary analysis, the phantom account, the stolen $47,000. The opposing counsel, a young guy in a too-big suit representing Evan and Kim, tried to argue that this was a family misunderstanding and that civil remedies were more appropriate than harsh criminal proceedings. Judge Morrison cut him off. "Counselor, I've been on the bench for 18 years. I've seen a lot of family misunderstandings. This isn't one of them." She looked at the documents. "This is systematic financial exploitation of an elderly woman by people she trusted. The signatures are clearly forged. The account was clearly created without Ms. Patterson's knowledge or consent, and $47,000 is clearly missing." She looked up. "Motion granted. Ms. Patterson's legitimate accounts will be unfrozen immediately. All accounts that received transfers from the fraudulent account are hereby frozen pending criminal investigation. The eviction proceeding is dismissed with prejudice." She banged her gavel. "And counselor, tell your clients they should retain criminal defense attorneys. Today, we won." I walked out of that courthouse with Sophia, and for the first time in a week, I could breathe. "Your accounts will be accessible by end of business today," Sophia said. "You can get groceries, pay bills, live your life." "What about Kim and Linda?" "Their accounts are frozen. No access until the criminal investigation concludes. Could be months." I thought about that. About Kim unable to shop. About Linda unable to pay her bills. About them feeling what I'd felt. "Good," I said. That afternoon, I went to the bank, not to see Mr. Reynolds. He'd been reassigned after Sophia filed a formal complaint about his handling of my case. The new branch manager was a woman named Patricia Hernandez. Younger, sharper, apologetic. "Ms. Patterson, I'm so sorry for what happened. We take elder abuse very seriously, and we're conducting an internal investigation into Ms. Carter's activities." "Is she here?" I asked. "She's been placed on administrative leave pending the criminal investigation." I nodded, started to leave. Then I saw her, Linda Carter, walking out of the back offices carrying a box. Personal items, photos, a coffee mug, a potted plant. She saw me, froze. "Ms. Patterson," she said. Her voice shook. "I can explain—" "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't say anything to me. Save it for your lawyer. It was Kim's idea. She said you'd never notice. She said you had so much money." I said don't. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. "I'm going to lose everything. My job, my house, my—" "Good," I said. "Now you know how it feels." I walked past her, went to the ATM, withdrew $200 cash, just because I could. Behind me, I heard Linda Carter sobbing into her box of desk plants. I didn't look back. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom?" Evan's voice. Rough, broken, like he'd been crying. "Don't hang up," he said quickly. "Please. I need to talk to you." "About what?" "About everything. About Kim, about the money, about—" His voice cracked. "Mom, I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know what Kim and Linda were doing. I thought the money was from Kim's family. I thought—" "You thought wrong. I know, and I'm so sorry. For the glass, for the screaming, for all of it. Mom, I'm 3 weeks sober. For real this time. I'm going to meetings every day. Evan, stop. Silence. You threw a glass at me," I said quietly. "You made me bleed. You stood there while Kim screamed at me." You signed an eviction notice to take my house. The eviction was Kim's. I don't care whose idea it was. You signed it. You chose her over me. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. You're always drunk, I said. Or high, or desperate. And I'm always cleaning up the mess. $31,200, Evan. That's how much I've given you in 3 years. And you've never once said thank you. He was crying now. I could hear it in his breathing. What do you want from me? He asked. What can I do to fix this? I looked around my kitchen, at the table where we'd eaten breakfast when he was little, at the growth chart still marked on the doorframe, at the photo on the fridge of 6-year-old Evan on his first day of school. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if you can fix this. Please, he whispered. Mom, please, I need you. No, I said. You need my money. There's a difference. I hung up, and I didn't cry. The preliminary hearing was set for April 2nd, 2 weeks after I hung up on Evan. Travis County Criminal Court, downtown Austin. I arrived with Sophia at 8:45 a.m. The hearing was at 9 Psi. Early spring morning, air still cold, sun just starting to warm the concrete. Derek was already there, standing outside the courthouse smoking a cigarette. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Gray skin, wrinkled suit, hands shaking. He saw me, dropped the cigarette, crushed it under his shoe. Cheryl, he said, I need to talk to you. You can talk to my lawyer, I said, walking past him. He grabbed my arm, not hard, just desperate. Please, please, I need to tell you something before this starts. Sophia stepped between us. Mr. Patterson, remove your hand. He let go, looked at me with eyes that were red, like he'd been crying. It was my fault, he said, his voice cracked. All of it. Evan, Kim, the accounts, everything. It was me. People were walking past us. Other lawyers, defendants, families, everyone pretending not to listen while listening to everything. Let's go inside, Sophia said quietly. We found a small conference room on the 3rd floor. Derek sat across from me, Sophia beside me taking notes. Talk, Sophia said. Derek put his hands on the table, looked at them like they belonged to someone else. After Tom died, he started. I was angry, so angry, because our mother left everything to him. The house, the savings, everything, and I got nothing. I worked just as hard. I called her just as much, but she loved Tom more. Everyone loved Tom more. I remembered the funeral. Derek standing apart from everyone else, not crying, just staring. When Tom left you the house and the life insurance and everything, Derek continued, I thought it was unfair. You had $200,000 from the life insurance. You had the house worth $320,000. You had retirement accounts, and I had nothing but my law degree and my bitterness. So you decided to take it, I said. No, not at first. He looked up at me. At first I just complained about it, to anyone who'd listen, including Evan, and Evan was drowning Cheryl. He had debts. Kim was spending money they didn't have. And I kept telling him, your mother has all this money just sitting there. She doesn't need it. She's old. She's alone. What's she saving it for? My chest tightened. I planted the idea, Derek said. Month after month, every time Evan called me for advice, I told him the same thing, that you were hoarding money, that you were being selfish, that he deserved some of it because he's your son. You manipulated him, Sophia said. Yes. Derek's voice was barely a whisper. And then Kim came to me last October. She said they needed money fast, that creditors were threatening them, and she asked if I could help. I told her about your accounts, about the passwords you'd mentioned to me years ago, about Linda Carter, Kim's cousin. I knew Linda worked at Wells Fargo. I'd met her at a family party, and I thought... He stopped, swallowed. I thought if we could just access some of your money, just enough to help Evan and Kim get back on their feet, it wouldn't matter. You'd never notice. You had so much. You thought stealing $47,000 wouldn't matter, I asked. I didn't think of it as stealing. I thought of it as early inheritance, money that would eventually go to Evan anyway. It's not inheritance if I'm still alive, I said. It's theft. Derek closed his eyes. I know that now. But at the time, I convinced myself I was helping family. that I was fixing an old injustice, that Tom would have wanted Evan to have help. "Don't you dare," I said quietly. "Don't you dare use my husband's name to justify what you did." He flinched like I'd hit him. "I signed the mental incompetency petition because Kim told me you were acting confused," he said. "She said you'd been making strange financial decisions, that you needed protection. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. Because if you were incompetent, then taking the money wasn't really stealing. It was protecting you from yourself. But I wasn't incompetent," I said. "No, you were smarter than all of us." He looked at me. "And now Kim and Linda are facing federal charges. And Evan's life is destroyed. And it's my fault. All of it is my fault." Sophia tapped her pen on her notepad. "Are you willing to testify to all of this in court?" "Yes." "Against Kim Patterson? Against Linda Carter?" "Yes." "Understanding that your testimony will likely result in their conviction and incarceration?" Derek nodded slowly. "I don't want to be a lawyer anymore anyway. After this, they'll disbar me. I'll lose my license, my reputation, everything. But maybe if I tell the truth, maybe Evan can avoid prison. Maybe he can save himself." "Why do you care about saving Evan?" I asked. Derek met my eyes. "Because he's Tom's son, and I failed Tom in life. I won't fail him in death." The hearing started at 9:15. Judge Morrison again. Same reading glasses, different coffee mug. This one said, "I'm surrounded by idiots." The prosecutor was a woman named Rachel Chen. No relation to Dr. Chen, the forensic examiner, but equally sharp. Mid-30s, perfectly styled black hair, voice like a knife. "Your Honor," she said, "the state charges Kimberly Ann Patterson and Linda Marie Carter with conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, forgery, and financial exploitation of an elderly person. We have forensic evidence of forged signatures, bank records showing systematic theft, and witness testimony establishing premeditation and intent." Kim's lawyer stood up. Different guy from the eviction hearing. Older, expensive suit, the kind of lawyer you hire when you're really scared. "Your Honor, my client maintains her innocence and—" "Sit down, counselor," Judge Morrison said. "I've read the evidence packets. The signatures are forged. The account was opened fraudulently. $47,000 is missing. Unless you can explain those facts, save your arguments for trial." Linda's lawyer didn't even try to speak. The judge looked at some papers. "I'm ordering both defendants to remain in custody without bail pending trial. Given the sophistication of the fraud and the risk of flight, bail is denied." Kim gasped. Her lawyer leaned over, whispered something urgent. "Your Honor," he said, "Ms. Patterson has no prior record. She's not a flight risk. She stole $47,000 from an elderly woman using insider bank access and forged documents," Judge Morrison interrupted. "That suggests both sophistication and premeditation. Bail denied." The bailiff led Kim out. She looked at me as she passed. Not angry, not defiant. Terrified. They arrested her at the bank. I wasn't there to see it, but Sophia got the details from the prosecutor. Kim had gone to Wells Fargo on Congress Avenue the day after the hearing, trying to access accounts that were frozen. She'd made a scene, screaming at the new manager, demanding her money. The police had been waiting. They arrested her right there in the lobby, in front of 20 customers, in front of the same tellers who'd processed her fraudulent withdrawals for months. Patricia Hernandez, the new manager, called Sophia afterward. "I thought you'd want to know," she said. "Ms. Patterson was carrying designer shopping bags when we arrested her. $11,000 worth of handbags and clothes, purchased with Ms. Patterson's stolen money. The police seized the bags as evidence. Kim had been shopping with my money the same day she got out of custody." Sophia showed me photos from the arrest. Kim in handcuffs, mascara running, designer purse on the floor beside her, security footage showing everything. "The prosecutor wants to use this at trial," Sophia said. "Shows lack of remorse, ongoing attempts to access stolen funds, conspicuous consumption. Will it help?" I asked. "It'll bury her," Sophia said. "Evan called me that night. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mom." His voice was different, sober, clear. "I need to see you." "Why?" "Because the prosecutor wants me to testify against Kim, and I need to know if you want me to." We met at a coffee shop on South Lamar, neutral ground. Sophia came with me, sat at a different table. gave us space but stayed close. Evan looked terrible, thinner, pale, wearing clothes that didn't fit right. But his eyes were clear, really clear, for the first time in years. "I'm 31 days sober," he said. "Meetings twice a day. Got a sponsor. Got a job washing dishes at a restaurant on 6th Street. Good for you," I said. I meant it. The prosecutor says if I testify against Kim, if I tell them everything I know about the fraud, they'll give me immunity. No charges. Clean slate. And if you don't, then I'm an accessory. Conspiracy charges. 3 to 5 years. I looked at my son, at the man who'd thrown glass at my face, at the boy who'd once made me breakfast in bed for Mother's Day. "What do you know?" I asked. He took a breath. "I know Kim and Linda planned it. I know they opened the account without telling me. I didn't know about the $47,000 until after it was gone." "But you benefited from it." "Yes." He didn't look away. "Kim paid off my credit cards with it. Bought the car we were driving. Paid 3 months of rent. I didn't ask where the money came from because I didn't want to know." "That's still theft, Evan." "I know. The prosecutor knows too. That's why they're offering the deal. They want Kim and Linda more than they want me." "What do you want?" I asked. He looked at me, really looked at me. "I want my mother back," he said. "I want to be the kind of man who deserves to have a mother like you. I want to be sober and employed and honest. I want to not be this person anymore." "That's a lot of wants." "I know." His voice cracked. "But Mom, I need to know. If I testify against Kim, if I tell the truth about everything, will you ever forgive me?" I sat there looking at my son, thinking about all the years, all the money, all the lies. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't know if I can forgive you, but I know I can't forgive you if you don't tell the truth. So if you're asking for permission to testify, you have it. Not for me, for you." He nodded, wiped his eyes. "Okay," he said. "Okay, I'll do it." He stood up, started to leave, turned back. "Mom, I'm sorry for everything. I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I am." "I know," I said. He left. Sophia came over, sat down across from me. "That was hard," she said. "Yeah. You okay?" I thought about it. About Evan testifying against his wife. About Kim in jail. About Derek's confession. About everything that had happened in 3 weeks. "I don't know," I said. "But I'm still standing. The trial lasted 3 days. Kim's lawyer tried everything. Argued she'd been manipulated by Linda. Argued she'd only wanted to help her struggling husband. Argued that the $47,000 was a misunderstanding about family expectations. The jury didn't buy it. Evan testified on day 2. Stood at that witness stand in a button-down shirt I'd bought him when he graduated high school, the only nice thing he still owned, and told the truth. "Kim told me the money came from her parents," he said. "I believed her because I wanted to believe her. I didn't ask questions because I knew if I did, the answer might be that we were stealing from my mother." "And when did you learn the truth?" Rachel Chen asked. "When the police froze our accounts. When I saw the bank statements showing transfers from an account in my mother's name. When I realized my wife and her cousin had forged my mother's signature and stolen almost $50,000. How did that make you feel?" Evan looked at me. I was sitting in the front row with Sophia. "Like I'd failed the only person who ever really loved me," he said. Kim's lawyer tried to discredit him on cross-examination, called him an alcoholic, called him unreliable, suggested he was only testifying to save himself. "Mr. Patterson," the lawyer said, "isn't it true that you benefited directly from this stolen money?" "Yes," Evan said. "And isn't it true that you're only testifying now because you were given immunity?" "Yes." "So we're supposed to believe you're suddenly honest?" Evan looked at the lawyer. "I'm not suddenly honest. I'm suddenly sober. There's a difference." The courtroom was quiet. "For 3 years," Evan continued, "I let my addiction and my wife's greed turn me into someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could throw a glass at his own mother. Someone who could sign an eviction notice. Someone who could watch his mother bleed and not help her." His voice broke. "So no, I'm not suddenly honest, but I'm trying to be, and that has to start somewhere." The jury came back in 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Kim got 5 years. Federal prison, no early release. Linda got 4 years plus permanent prohibition from working in banking. I watched them led away in handcuffs. Kim crying. Linda silent. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just tired. Derek lost his law license in June, disbarred for conspiracy to commit fraud and for signing false documents. The hearing took 20 minutes. He didn't fight it. 2 weeks later, I saw him driving an Uber. Downtown Austin, picking up passengers on 6th Street. He saw me too. Looked away fast. I thought about Tom. About how Derek had carried his brother's casket at the funeral. About how jealousy can rot you from the inside until there's nothing left but bitterness. I didn't wave. I sold the house in July. The big house on Maple Street where I'd raised Evan, where Tom had died, where Kim had screamed at me. I sold it to a young couple with twins. They loved the backyard, loved the kitchen, loved the growth chart still marked on the doorframe. "Are you sure you want to leave that?" the wife asked, pointing at the marks. "Evan, 3 years old. Evan, first day of school." "Yes," I said. "Let it stay. Maybe it'll bring you better luck than it brought me." I netted $340,000 from the sale, added to the $47,000 I'd recovered from Kim's accounts and the $183,000 I'd had before everything started. I had just over $570,000. More than enough. I bought a small apartment in Hyde Park. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, big windows, paid cash, no mortgage, no debt, no ties. With the rest of the money, I did something I'd been thinking about since April. I opened a resource center for elder abuse survivors, rented a small office on North Loop, hired a part-time social worker, partnered with legal aid clinics and senior services. Called it Tom's House, after my husband. We helped people file restraining orders, find lawyers, document abuse, recover stolen money. Everything I'd learned, everything Sophia had taught me, I passed it on. Within 3 months, we'd helped 42 people. One of them was a 73-year-old woman whose grandson had stolen her Social Security checks for 2 years. We helped her get the money back and get him arrested. She cried in my office. "I thought I was the only one," she said. "I thought I was crazy for turning in my own grandson." "You're not crazy," I told her. "You're surviving." Evan kept calling, once a week every Sunday at 10 a.m. I didn't always answer, but when I did, we talked. Short conversations. How was work? How were meetings? How was he feeling? 90 days sober, he said in July. "Good," I said. 6 months sober, he said in September. "Keep going," I said. He got promoted to prep cook at the restaurant, started taking online classes, business management, said he wanted to own his own place someday. "I'm thinking a breakfast spot," he said one Sunday. "Simple stuff, eggs, pancakes, coffee. The kind of place where you know everyone's name." "That sounds nice," I said. "Mom?" His voice got quiet. "Do you think you'll ever be able to eat there? If I open it?" I looked out my window. Fall leaves on the trees, orange and red and gold. "I don't know, Evan," I said honestly. "Maybe." October 23rd, 6 months after Kim threw the glass. I was at Tom's house reviewing intake forms when someone knocked on the door. I looked up. Evan, standing in the doorway with flowers. Sunflowers, my favorite. "I know you said to call first," he said quickly. "But I wanted to do this in person." "Do what?" He came in, set the flowers on my desk, handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." I opened it. Inside was a check for $1,500. "What? It's not much," Evan said. "But it's what I've been able to save from my paycheck over 6 months. I know I owe you $31,200. At this rate, it'll take me years to pay it back. But I'm going to do it. Every month, until it's done." I stared at the check, at Evan's signature in blue ink. "You don't have to do this," I said. "Yes, I do." He sat down across from me. "Mom, I can't change what I did. I can't take back the glass or the eviction notice or the 3 years of taking your money, but I can try to make it right, even if it takes the rest of my life." He looked different. Clear-eyed, healthy, present. Not the desperate addict who'd thrown glass at me, not the broken boy who'd cried at the coffee shop. A man, trying to be better. Are you still going to meetings? I asked. Every day. Are you working? 40 hours a week. Picking up extra shifts when I can. Are you talking to Kim? No. He met my eyes. She writes me from prison. I don't read the letters. My sponsor says that's healthy. I looked at the sunflowers, at the check, at my son. Come have coffee with me, I said. Really? Once a week. Sunday mornings. Here at the office. I gestured around. You can see what I'm doing. You can tell me how you're doing. We can try to be something other than what we were. Mom, His voice broke. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, I said. This is probation, Evan. You get 6 months. 6 months of sobriety, of showing up, of being honest. If you make it through that, we'll talk about what comes next. And if I don't make it? I thought about that, about all the chances I'd given him before, about all the money, all the excuses, all the times I'd enabled his worst behavior because I was afraid of losing him. Then we're done, I said quietly. Not because I don't love you, but because I love myself more now. He nodded, wiped his eyes, stood up. Sunday mornings, he said. I'll be here. Evan? He turned back. I'm not promising forgiveness, I said. I'm not promising we'll go back to how things were. I'm just promising I'll try. That's all I'm asking for, he said. He left. I sat there with the sunflowers and the check and the quiet of my little office. Outside, Austin hummed with life. Cars on the street, people walking, the city moving forward. I was 65 years old. I'd lost $47,000, a marriage to theft, and 3 years of my life to people who'd used me. But I'd gained something too. A small apartment that was mine, a center that helped people like me, a son who was trying, and most importantly, myself. I didn't know if Evan would stay sober. I didn't know if we'd ever have the relationship I'd wanted. I didn't know what the future looked like. But for the first time in years, I was okay with not knowing. Because whatever happened next, I'd survive it. I'd survived everything else. 6 months later, Evan showed up every Sunday. Never missed one. On week 23, he brought me something besides flowers. A framed photo. Me and him, when he was 6 years old. The day he started first grade. I found this in storage, he said. I thought you might want it. I looked at that photo, at the little boy holding my hand, at the mother smiling like nothing bad would ever happen. Do you remember what you told me that day? Evan asked. I shook my head. You said, Evan, no matter what happens, I'll always be proud that you're my son. He swallowed hard. I want to be the kind of man who deserves that again. I set the photo on my desk, next to the sunflowers he brought every week. You're getting there, I said. And I meant it. Call to action. So that's my story. The story of how my daughter-in-law screamed at me, how my son threw glass at my face, and how I fought back and won. But here's what I want to ask you. Would you have done the same? Would you have prosecuted your own son's wife? Would you have given him a second chance after everything? Have you ever been in a situation like this, where family betrayed you, where love turned to greed, where you had to choose between forgiveness and survival? Tell me in the comments. Share your story, because I've learned that we're not alone in this. Thousands of people are going through what I went through, and sometimes, just knowing someone else survived it makes all the difference. And if you're in that situation right now, if someone is exploiting you, manipulating you, stealing from you, please know this. You are not crazy. You are not selfish. You are not a bad parent or grandparent or spouse. You are surviving, and you deserve better. Stay strong. Stay honest. And remember, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not them. Thank you for listening. Cheryl Patterson, Austin, Texas.